Hello everyone, in this tutorial I want to show you how to set up the Falcon Selection box in a 2D environment. I'm going to also give a small introduction of the tool and go through the documentation, quick start step by step to the environment so you can see how to navigate it and how easy it is to go through the documentation. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Unity, go to my Falcon Selection box folder and open documentation. I'm going to go to the introduction. What is Falcon Selection Box? It's a tool that allows you to quickly and easily add a pointer selection tool like the one in the most popular real-time strategy games. If you remember in games like StarCraft, you have a pointer tool where you select on your screen, you drag it, and then a box is drawn with your pointer. Anything inside this box gets selected, and anything outside this box gets unselected. This tool aims to provide this solution for you, so it makes your life a little bit easier when making games. Okay, so now I'm going to jump right into the tutorial. No coding required. So our first step, of course, we open a new scene. I have a new scene in here, and we open our helper window. We go to Window, Falcon, Systems. So let's do that. Window, Falcon, Systems. And then make sure the 2D button is selected. So we have 3D by default, we click 2D. Why is this? Because if you have the 3D button selected, it will add 3D components to the camera. Step number 4, click the Init Systems button. This will create a Falcon Systems object in your scene. So we'll go ahead and do that. Click the Init Systems. We can see how the Falcon Systems object got created. And if you go to the hierarchy, you'll see the input manager that I've created by default and Unity's event system. This is because the selection tool uses Unity's event system to to handle the input events. Why Unity's event system? Because it's very modular and it also supports mobile and almost every platform by default. So it's a good tool to have by default. You are not, if you need to use another event system, you can use it. But just by default, I'm providing you this so you can get started right away. Okay, so our next step, click the Init to the camera button. This will add the GLBox selector and physics to the Raycaster scripts to your camera. So let's go ahead and do that. We click the Init to the camera. Well, a quick note also, the window recognizes a main camera by default, but if you want to set up another camera, you can just drag it and drop it in here or select it with this button. Okay, with that said, let's init our 2D camera. And you can see both components being added to the camera. One is the Raycaster. This is basically what will recognize the inputs on your surface. And the GL box selector. This will be what draws the box and also what sends the selection events. Anything inside the box gets selected, anything outside the box gets unselected. Next step. We will add a sprite to the scene, and this will be basically our floor, our ground, if you want to call it that. So let's go ahead and add a sprite to the sprite. We have no image, so let's set something basic that we have in here, like this guy. We have our background. Let's make it a little bit bigger because it's really small. Okay, cool. Of course, this is an example. This is not in, don't put this as your background in a real game. It's basically what I'm saying. And now let's also make sure that we can see it with our camera. Okay, right here. I'm gonna set my camera to orthographic because we're doing 2D and we're not using 2.5D or anything. Let's move this a little bit behind. Okay. So we have our surface, and with the floor created, we're gonna click the Set 2D Selection Area button in our helper window. So we select, let's name this floor, by the way. Okay, Set 2D Selection Area. You can see how the script recognized that we didn't have any collider, and the drag handler needs a collider, so it added it. It also added the drag handler script that will handle all the events for dragging. And next step, by the way, just a quick note, the screenshot that I provided in the documentation is from the examples 2D, located under the scenes folder. Okay, so step number 7, we can go ahead and click play and see what happens. You can see the box is being drawn. Great, we have our box. Now we want to see some selectables, right? Okay, let's go ahead and do that next. Step number 8, we're gonna add some selectables. We'll add a sprite to your scene and set its position to look like it's above the floor sprite, like on the screen. We will call this sprite Dragon Unit. Okay, so we go ahead and add another sprite, 2D sprite. Of course, it's not a dragon, so we'll set it to our nub image. Let's call it Dragon Unit. It's really small, so let's make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. Let's see how it looks like this. Okay. We have our Dragon Unit. And with the Dragon Unit selected, click the Set 2D Selectable Example button on the Falcon Systems window. Okay, so we're gonna set up this to be able to receive our handling events and let the system know when it gets clicked. So let's click the Set 2D Selectable Example, and notice again how the system added the box collider because it didn't find any collider in the object, and it also added the example selectable script. So now what happens if we click play? While we're dragging, we can see how our Dragon Unit is getting selected, and also gets unselected when you drag the box outside the Dragon Unit, sorry. Notice though that if I click on it, it doesn't get selected, right? And all of our games want to support clicking also, I think. Maybe not, but if you do, you have it right here. So let's go to the next step. Okay, yeah, that I already explained. You may have noticed that clicking the Dragon Unit, okay, that I also explained, sorry, going ahead in the tutorial. With your Dragon Unit sprite selected, click the Set 2D Click Listener button, hit play, and notice how clicking the sprite selects it. So let's select the Dragon Unit, and let's add a 2D Click Listener. We have our click handler here. Now what happens when I click on the sprite? Oh, it got selected, cool. Notice though that if you click anywhere else, nothing will happen. Why? Because it's the event handlers that need to communicate with the system to select and unselect. So basically this guy is unselecting, but I need to click on this to select it and also drag to unselect it. So that's it. Your 2D environment is ready and set up. There are a few more things that you can do to experiment with. Let's say you want to change the color of the sprite to test with. So you can change in here the color to green, and notice how the sprite now is green. Yeah. The example selectable script is not a production script. It's more for you to test that it's actually working. Another few things that you can test is the main camera GL box selector. Try unticking the filled box and notice what happens. Instead of being filled, you have a box that only draws the lines. Kind of cool, if you ask me. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I saved you some time. See you around.